And I will allow them to introduce themselves, put themselves in whatever order they want. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Yes, good afternoon. And it's good to meet you. My name is Gordon Anderson, and I'm a member of the KPFT family as well. And it's really good to hear the wide variety of opinions around KPFT. For full disclosure, when I first came to the station, I came basically around the time Dwayne Bradley, the station manager, came. We used to work on a television show together, Green Watch, which is a Green Party adjunct television show. Hopefully some of you have seen the show. And so I came around 2002, whatever that was, whenever the people that Cool spoke about, I came around that particular time, and I've been there since then. So I think at that time, around that time at least, I made a PSA that I think the reason Ted asked me to be on the panel, there's a PSA that many of you have heard, I'm sure, if you listen to the station. I'm the voice of Pacifica, and there are a wide variety, Asian voices, Urdu, different voices. I mean, basically, they came out of when I was really in love with KPFT. I'm not saying I enjoy KPFT now. I was in love with KPFT then. But I mean, I used to be there all night making PSAs and doing this thing. But I made that particular diversity PSA was kind of in response to all of the negative energy that was at the KPFT at that time. Again, during that time was the time the board was overturned, the previous board, the national board, and the current board came in. And even, of course, spoke to a number of issues around diversity. And that's really was my particular point. And I think that's why Ted asked me to say a few words. What do we mean by diversity for me in the context of KPFT? And I would like to hear, at some point, we all know what the issues were, what the problems were, or the fights, the conceptual issues around all of that. We need to crystallize what we mean around diversity. Kua did say we have diversity, and I kind of want to kind of elaborate on that briefly. Paid staff for KPFT. If you look at paid staff, and I'm not a paid staff member, but if you look at paid staff, you have, I think, maybe 2 or 3 white paid staff. Everybody else is of a minority, I mean, black or Hispanic. So diversity in management, or I don't know about decision making, but certainly in management, there's diversity there. So, you know, say again?
We want you in decision making also, though. That's
we want
diversity is not in decision making.
Okay, and that's where the board comes in. We elect the board members. So we are, and everybody has an opportunity to run for the board. If you're a member of the board, and I'm not here to speak for anybody. I'm only speaking out of my own heart and my own, what I see at the station. We have diversity in paid staff. And on HD radio, we have quite a few new shows on HD radio. I have my own show on HD. Black on Both Sides comes on Fridays. But there are a lot of minority programmers on HD. And really the reason I raise these issues is so we can identify what is the actual issue that we're really trying to address around KPFT. Is diversity the issue that we're really trying to address? And I simply want to point out these parts that I can just anecdotally see around KPFT. And I'm not going to be much longer. Looking around the room, other than brother here, there are probably not very many people under the age of 30. That's an issue at KPFT. Many of us talk about the other issues around race, but we're not bringing any young people into the station. How do we go about addressing that issue? Well, actually there's a program, there have been some young high schoolers that have been there on Fridays doing programming out of the high school of International High School which has been great, and that's been an outreach. I don't know who initiated that, but that's been a pretty good thing. But how about younger people programming? We do need younger people. I mean, all of us 40-somethings and 50-somethings, nobody older than 50. We know we need to make room for these young guys. This guy has a lot of energy, Brother Sam. I mean, this is a dangerous brother right here.
In a good way.
In a good way. Okay, and diversity also can be, as far as I can see, cross-pollinating different race groups, working on different shows. And to point this out personally, just to give my own personal experience, I've been a host or guest or pitching for Progressive Forum, which I'm sure most people have heard, Voices at Work, which is a labor show. I've interviewed Brother Cummings actually about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I will be hosting that show again this coming Friday. Voice of Workers and Labor Show. Whole Mother, which is a birthing show. I do the boards for that show. Community Dialogue. I help Cliff on his show. And other shows. So diversity can be cross-pollination, because the way I see it, for people to come in to the station in their own little box, into their own little show, which sometimes it used to remind me of like a vaudevillian kind of thing, because you come in, you do your thing, nobody really interacts with anybody, and you move on. Is that diversity? That's posing the question. I don't know. So Ed gave us, and the young lady gave us about 3 to 5 minutes. I wanted to just kind of put it out there to crystallize, so maybe you guys can just, so I can get a better understanding of what the issue is we need to move KPFT, what we need to do to move KPFT forward. For me, it's a lack of money. If diversity is incorporated in that particular issue, then we need to address it in that way, because KPFT is as you just came out of the pledge line, every 3 or 4 months, we're scuffling to dip into the same well of people for them to dig in their pockets again and again and again. And that model seems to be kind of running out. So diversity is a good thing, but I don't see diversity, diversity is great, but diversity is not an end in itself. Diversity has to be within the context of whatever else that we're trying to do. So the aim for me, to wrap it up, is that diversity should have a value add that makes the station more financially stable and culturally amalgamated within that station, not balkanized, but amalgamated. So I think that's the case I want to make, and hopefully give somebody something to think about. Thanks.
Afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Mark Badawi. I've been involved with KPFT for 16 years, basically since I moved to Houston. And one of the questions that I get most often, sounding the way that I do, is, where are you from? Or what are you? And this brings up the whole diversity question for me. You're asking about Middle East and whether it's Middle East or not. Gil Scott-Heron said at one point that Libya and Egypt used to be in Africa, but they've been moved to the Middle East. I'll tell you a story just to kind of get you thinking about what I'm trying to get across here. Recently I was renewing my green card, and the forms had changed since the last time, it was every 10 years. And the new form, I was actually really happy to see, because it had all these boxes that it didn't used to have. It used to be white, black, Hispanic, other. That was it. The new form that I saw had white, black, Hispanic, African, European, Caucasian, other. And I thought, great, I'm going to check every box I can. So just to clarify, my mother was English, my father was Egyptian. And so I checked African, European, other, why not? And I gave them the form, and as they were trying to process me in the form, the woman didn't know how to deal with so many boxes. So she called the supervisor over, who happened to be African American, and she said, I don't know what to do with this form. And this lady looked at me and she said, "Oh no, he's white." So they just checked white. And I said, wait a minute, there's more than that. So I guess what I want to say is that diversity is a bit of a double-edged sword. My radar goes off and red flags go up for me whenever someone tries to define themselves by a label that is exclusive of other people. If your base position is, I am something that you're not, that gives me a problem. And it gives me pause. So I guess the only thing that I cannot tolerate is intolerance. So diversity is good and that we should all be included, but we shouldn't be included in separate pockets that don't mix. So how that applies to KPFT, I don't know. How we can make it work in the future, I hope we can. It's important to represent different groups who have different experiences, but it's, for me, critical to not represent them to the exclusion of other groups. So any show that is focused on a particular topic, my show tends to focus a lot on the Middle East because I grew up there and that's where a lot of the killing happens with our tax dollars. But I also talk about other parts of the world. And sometimes I get a reaction from people who are, well, why are you talking about Latin America? You've never been there. And I say, well, because they're human. We're all in this together, this place. And so I have as much time for any of you individually as I do for anybody else. And so if we cannot see beyond our own labels, then we really have a big problem. That's all.
Hi, Gordon Kwan. My tenure with KPFT has been maybe shorter than some others. We've had a program for 8 years called Coming to America, dealing with immigration issues. Thank you for all those who have tuned in. I'm going to be kind of like Victoria. I'm just going to give you my view, whether you like it or not. I hope I don't offend anybody. I agree. There's a rich history, and I really appreciated the first panel talking about how the station started, like in 1968. You know, I was around at that time, and it was a very radical time. I loved the 60s. And I loved the boomers, and I loved the fact that we thought we could change the world. But as you may have seen in the Chronicle recently, millennials are now larger than boomers, and we have a changing demographic. And I think it's very important that we be open to change to the station. I mean, we have wonderful personalities who've been doing shows for 20 years, 30 years, whatever. But, you know, that audience is dying out, man. And we got to, like, come up with the times. So I just want to throw out some ideas because I think as was alluded to, unfortunately, money is an important part. We can't stay on the air if we don't have any money. And I know we want to stay true to these principles. It's radio free, it's commercial free, it's no corporations are running our station. But I still look at, and forgive me if I'm being disloyal, KU, National Public Radio, NPR. I think that they still are pretty independent, but there are people who say, I'm a supporter of this station. I'm giving money to this station. I believe in the causes. They're not necessarily advertising, but they're showing that they support what the station stands for. Our law firm has been a supporter of NPR in the past, and just like, you know, before it was Foster Kwan. Foster Kwan supports the programming on this station. If people want to call us, fine. If they don't call us, no big deal. But we wanted to come out and show our support. I think we can look to do something like that with our station too, KPFT. That there are, I agree with what was said by Gordon earlier, continuing to beg every quarter and not making our goals, it's discouraging. And you know that old saying about insanity, doing the same thing and expecting a different result, doesn't work. We got to be open to different ideas. It's a different world. I think that, again, with all due respect to the past, we have to challenge the status quo. That's what the station started out being. We said, wait, we're not going to go with the same thing. We are different. We got an independent voice. And we had to even challenge our own status quo. Just because a station's been on the, a program's been on the air for a long time, all due respect, shows change. And I think that we need to also promote other shows at our own station. You know, who knows about us other than our friends sometimes, okay? And our clients that I tell them, yeah, we're on the air, tune in. But, you know, as you watch television, they're always promoting other shows. You listen to the radio, they say, oh, and the guest speaker is going to be so-and-so on the show next week. And hey, get some energy, get some life, get people excited about our station, and let people know who we are. You know, I think that we also need to be proactive. How, you know, we talk about we need young people. Well, you know, they're not just going to come in our door, to tell you the truth. They're not just going to discover us. I think that we need to be looking at how do we do internships with different communications departments at the different schools, whether it be high schools or colleges. Help them grow shows. Get them loyal to our station. Get them telling their friends, hey, there's this cool station, 90.1. I got a show on that station. Oh, you got a show on that station? Hey, man, how'd you do that? Well, I went there and I interviewed, I did this pitch, and next thing you know, I got a show. They get their friends going. I also think that we need to be looking at partnerships with different ethnic communities that maybe we haven't reached out to before. That we're not this exclusive station, we're an open station. So I know we have a lot of ethnic stations like Vietnamese and Chinese and Pakistani, but they're not exclusive. We can still reach out to them, develop partnerships whereby they feel that they have a place at our station too. That people come and listen to their show and then stick around for Vegan World Radio or stick around for different other shows that may be of interest to them. But we cannot hide our station under a rock and just think, hey man, this is the way it's been for 30-something years or 40-something years and we'll keep on going. We're not going to keep on going. We're going to die unless we change this model. So again, if I offended anybody, I'm sorry, but the reality is, we've got to be open to change. Change happens, and we will need to be a station that continues to reach people with the same core values, but we have to look at how do we improve that model. Thank you.
I'm going to hold the mic. Good afternoon. It's critical that we exhibit some enthusiasm about what we love. And everyone in this room loves this station on some level, some capacity, some degree. Am I correct in that assertion? Yes. Am I correct in that assertion? Yes. I mean, just think about the invaluable information these three individuals in the panel prior to my speaking just gave us, just shared with us. And it's imperative that we take the responsibility of not only internalizing that information, but externalizing it not only in our behaviors, but how we interact with others, and the responsibility that we give to others. There's so much imperative information and important resources that KPFT has not only been a part of, but has shown, has demonstrated, has exhibited the 40-some-odd years it's existed. I was looking up some facts on KPFT, and do you know that KPFT, right here in this city, right here in Houston, Texas, the most racially diverse and the most ethnically encompassing city in the entire United States of America, which is a country of melting, right? They call it a melting pot. But this city right here has the only radio station in the entire country that has been bombed 2 times by the Ku Klux Klan. And the reason why I bring that up, and I start this morning with that to put on your mind, is the fact that the information that KPFT, the individuals, the consciousness, the energy, and the prowess and the power is so profound that it touches people and it makes them get in their cars, walk down the street, and try to set it on fire. 2 times. So you cannot tell me that this is not important. And excuse my passion. You have to forgive that. You know, I'm a millennial, as they were saying. But I think that even more importantly is the power of public radio. The first radio performance was done in 1939. And as we get ready to approach 2019, as we're in 2016 right now, we realize that the power of radio is still the leading platform that exists among human beings. 93% of folk in the United States listen to AM and FM radio over our airwaves. That's higher than television, which has 85%. That's higher than even the smartphones that you're looking at even as I'm talking. It's just 73%. So radio has a profound and empowering and impactful experience, a part of our lives. If I played a song right now, you would revert back in your memory to how that song affected you. And many of you heard, oh, watch out there now. Many of you heard that song first on the radio. Many of you, before you went to bed at night, you turned on the radio or you turned off the radio. When you got with your loved one or your significant other, you were listening to the radio. Even, I got a laugh out of Ted, so I know it's true. All right, 65 million Americans listen to 6+ hours of radio weekly. I'll repeat that again, 6 hours per week. 265 million Americans listen to a radio. That's important. And 66 million millennials listen to that plus 4, at least 10+ hours of radio per week. So why cannot KPFT not only galvanize those individuals, but inspire those individuals to share the knowledge, the information, and the experience of being a part of KPFT? We don't have to do begathons. We have enough people in this city, the 4th largest city in America, soon to be the 3rd largest, the most racially diverse city in the country. There's no excuse for us to have this few people in the room, if we're really serious about diversity. So I'll close with this because I think it's imperative that I say this today. Yesterday we lost one of our, I don't even think there's a superlative or an adjective to describe the profound, yeah. Go ahead, Ray. The greatest. We lost the greatest yesterday, and I think that he's indicative of KPFT. Started out brash, young, saying, I'm on top of the world, and touching people in a way in which it inspired some and it enraged others. And then as he continued to progress, he fought against and overcame many numerous obstacles, even fought a man that many considered from 5th Ward right here from this town to be almost undominable, almost unstoppable, and put him on the ropes and rope-a-doped him right in Zaire, and had folk in Africa saying, Ali Boumbaye, Ali Boumbaye, and inspired a generation of people to fight against I was going to use another word, but I'll be more politically correct. A very misunderstood war, and was able to stand against that and even give the best 3 years of his fighting prowess to his beliefs and to what he believed in, and was willing to sacrifice even more than I could mention in the short time that I'm speaking. And then he was, most people would have been debilitated beyond any comprehension, but was able to use Parkinson to inspire others and touch others and to light a torch even during the Olympics. And I apologize for speaking so long, but I do want to close with this saying, is that he was able to show us that the greatest is not just when you win, but how you overcome and how you come to the point to become friends even with those that were considered at one time to be an enemy. And even as we mourn today his loss, we're inspired by the greatness that he exhibited. And I hope and I pray that we take that spirit of greatness and we make KPFT what it should be, what it must be, what it can be, what it is, in the greatest form of expression that exists on radio today. Thank you.